Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to review what has to be improved about Axie Infinity. And we are going to check cards, we are going to check mechanics, we are going to go into details of the game. So I hope you enjoy this content and let's go to the video. Hi guys. Another thing that has been a problem in the game is that your Axis can die so fast, right? So they made a change, and I really like that change, right? Because I think that making your first turn with 2 energy is really a first step towards the right direction, right? So what's next, right? What I think has to be done next in Axie Infinity Origins for the turns, for the Axie not dying so fast. I think that every Axie should have its time to, or every Axie player should have his time to set up a bit, right? Because right now, even with 2 energy, there is a possibility that the other team can kill you in the first turn, right? So you don't have time to set up. To be able to set up, I'm proposing this turn structure. So we have this turn 0 with only 1 energy, right? And only 3 cards. So first one, you could like turn 0 if you are the first player, right? You could like have that to set up your game, right? If you are an aggro player, you can attack fast, or if you are a mid-range player, you can set up, or you are controlling, you can set up too. So it's a pretty important tool. If you are an aggro player with only 1 energy, it's hard to kill something, right? You can do pretty high damage, right? But you are not going to kill, right? I think that in Axie Infinity Origin, there is a lot of advantage to be the first player, right? If you are the first player, it's a lot of advantage, right? Because you hit first, right? Without the other player to being able to even to block, right, that damage. So a good way to mitigate that is to reduce resources from the first player. How do you reduce, right? You reduce with less cards, 3 cards, right? And less energy, only 1. So you are reducing that. You can also defend a bit on first turn, but you are not going to be killed or something, right? So in that's turn 0, right? Next is the turn 1, right? Your second turn. If you are the first player, you will see that the other player will have more resources than you, right? But only 4 cards, not 5, right? That also mitigates the possible hit back that can do the other player. So I think that's a good way to mitigate that too. Only 4 cards, 2 energy is going to mitigate that impact. And after that, you have a normal turn, 5 cards, 3 energy, like we know. And after that, you have an special turn 3 that is going to have the same 5 cards, 3 energies, but 1 coin. Why 1 coin? To compensate that you were second, right? I'm not sure about that coin card in here, but I think it's worth a try, seeing if that's good enough or not. Only Sky Mavis can decide on this, right? But I really think that it's a pretty good start step, not going to the frustration to see your actually kill person without you doing anything, right? You are not even interacting with the game and your access kill. That's pretty horrible, right? And after turn 3, every turn is going to be like turn 2, right? 5 cards, 3 energy. So that's good enough. I think that we have seen this in plenty of games. We see this in Magic the Gathering through lands. We see this in Runeterra through energies. You don't get your energy on first turn. Even in other card games like Hearthstone, you don't start with all your crystals in 10, right? So it's important that players should not have all the full potential on even on turn 1, right? Your second turn is too much to handle it, right? So if we gradually increase that potential of the AXIE team, we can set up and we can adapt better to the turns. Not seeing your AXIE dying your first turn is not even your first turn. The first turn of your opponent is pretty critical in my opinion, and one way to avoid that is, okay, you have your turn 0. Let's go ahead and reduce that potential, right? So that happened in other card games, and I think that AXIE as a card game should also go that way. So this is my proposal. I hope you like it, and let's go to the next point. Okay, another important point I really hope they take into account is to fix this. You have a lot of points on one axis of different species, so you want to use your points, right? But when you come, for example, here invoke, the neutral charms don't allow you to sum those points to keep something, right? So you can only use 1 point. I have really reported that this bug several times, but they have been doing nothing about that. But it's funny because you cannot use your points in a good way, right? And you have less points for being an AXIE that have less cards, and that is okay. But it's too much also to not be able to use the neutral channel, right? So I think they should sum to use them. So for example, this axis has 3 plus 4, 7 points to use in neutral charms, right? So you could use any neutral charms in any card. So you can give a strat to your neutral axis, right? And not having like them unusable compared to more pure axis, right? So I think they should fix that. And I think this is an important phase they should consider, right? Because the more strat and strategic planning you give to the games, is the more important is to the game. So I really hope they fix this, and let's go to the next point, right? Another important point that I consider pretty relevant to this version is to be able to retain more, right? I think that neutral channels are a pretty good way to give mechanics to the game. And I think that retain is a pretty important mechanic to give choices to the players. That, and I think that this one, the sun stamp, right? The sun stamp and the retain, right? They should cost less because they allow you to do more strategic planning, and you allow also to backdoors axis to be more effective, right? Right now, backdoor is not as effective, right? So we should consider in a way to fix that. And I think a way to fixing that backdoors are more relevant to the game and could be an strat on their own is to come here and change this kind of cards, rocket stamp and sun stamp to cost a bit less. And with if they do the fix of the neutral charms being able to be equipped by any AXIE and then the potential points sum, we could have something. I will explain more about the retain. Retain allows you to do multiple things in one turn, right? It's a mechanic that we know of the previous AXIE, right? The P2, but in origin, there should be better ways to retain, right? Not costing 5, right? But 4, right? Or maybe 3. Because you can plan your moves, right? In a more strategic way. And that is important to the game. And it's important not being able to play everything you have every turn, but also have some thinking on what's best. Should I keep this card? Should I use that card? And that gives possibility to the players to really play the game in a strategic way, and you also convert the game in a more strategic game than it really is now. So I hope they fix this. I hope they go and retain to the cards because they are so important, and to add strategic planning, and also to do moves like pretty high damage or pretty high shield moves that are really important to think of, right? So I think strategic planning is going to be pretty necessary for this game. So I hope the retain stays, and I hope the retain it's really well used in this game. So that's all. Neutral point should count towards the amulets equipment, right? So you could equip neutral amulets with other axes that doesn't have that possibility, right? And that's important. But what is also important is that I talk about keeping your cards with reducing the cost of retain amulets, so they are less expensive, so they could be equipped. But other thing is that to allow more potential moves, for example, when you try to retain cards, I think that 10 is a number that is too small, right? I think that the amount of cards for your hand to be full should be increased to 12, because if you are able to retain more, or if you do moves like having a double timber, your hand should not be full so easily, so you lose your a powerful moves potential because your hand is going to get full, right? Even without you retaining. So I really think that AXIE team should consider this, because you have in a game, when you are a game designer, I have studied a bit on that, but what is important is to leave the player the choice to do strategic moves, right? And I think that 10 cards is pretty restrictive. So increasing to 12, I think is the right way to go. Another important point that has been talked a lot is Bloom and is Hero, and are those cards that make you draw one card, right? Right now, nerfed and almost destroyed a mechanic that I will talk about that in another point. But drawing a card is a pretty good mechanic in any game, right? Right now we have the discount coupon, and it's pretty good in this card, right? Because it costs 0, and right now there is an exploit where you can have this card as last card, and you can draw, and hit, right? You can hit a lot, and you can perma draw that. So I really think that the draw mechanic or the discount coupon should not be removed, right? I think that the development team has a problem there, and the problem is that they are trying to reduce the time to fix things, going or changing things the fastest way, right? So how we fix the problem with tiny fan, right? How we fix that? Okay, put banish, you won't drop that again, right? So the development team went for the fastest way to fix things, and I don't think that is the way to do things, right? My proposal here is, okay, you have blue moon, okay, draw your next non-draw card, right? Okay, so blue moon, or when you draw a card, you draw a card that doesn't draws a card, right? When you have a card that doesn't have banish, you should draw a card that doesn't draw a card, right? So that way they fix that. I think that this is pretty important for the game, and this is pretty important. They keep an eye, right? How you prevent a loop? Banishing a card or just not drawing anymore something that keeps you in the loop, right? I think that the best way is not drawing something that keeps you in the loop. That way they can be more creative with cards they develop in the future, right? Because we have 3 kind of axes that doesn't have cards, and it's best that they don't restrict their development based on what is easy to implement, but rather preventing things from the game design perspective, not from the development perspective, right? So I think that they should improve their game design, bug fixing, and exploit fixing. I don't know, but yeah, reducing the cost to 0 is really the way to go. With this card, it's pretty good, and we don't have to lose that ability because we can draw it again, right? Just fix that. Just draw next one non-draw card, right? So you don't keep looping, right? And that way you avoid also pretty strong turns, because if you, with this card, you draw next non-draw card, you cannot have 3 blue moons with cost 0, because okay, you draw blue moon, you draw blue moon, you draw blue moon, 93 damage, right? You avoid that too, because when you play your blue moon, you cannot keep looping, right? You cannot draw your next blue moon, right? So if the card doesn't have initial restriction, or if the card doesn't have something, that is the way to go, right? And I think that they should consider this point, because I think this is pretty important, and this is my proposal for Sky Maybe, is to do that. So I'm not saying this because I think they are doing things bad, that everything is bad, right? But they have things to improve, and I think this is one that is really important for them. So yeah, that's my proposal there. So guys, let's go to next point. One of the changes that they made, and I have a proposal here on the game, is the same I talk with Blue Moon, right? this card didn't have vanish. But what was important about this card is the damage boost mechanic, right? The damage boost mechanic allows you to play around it. With this card in an axis, you could make a last axis with the damage boost mechanic, and you could have a team around that, right? Around the damage boost mechanic. When they changed Tiny Fan to vanish because they wanted to fix quickly that bug, I really think they screwed it up. I really think because the card was pretty strong, yeah, I recognize that. But what was good about the card is that you could make an axie and breed an axie to have tiny fans composition, right? And you could build damage just to have a team around that. Right now, because they changed this, it's harder to do that composition. So my proposal here is, okay, it's the same. If you have a draw one card that doesn't have vanish, don't ruin the card, right? Draw next non-drawn card, right? Draw a card that doesn't draw a card. But also think before doing these changes, because you could kill entirely a mechanic. You could kill entirely a way to play the game. And you don't want that. You don't want to restrict the players to play the game, right? You want to keep that open. And the way to keep that open is not, don't kill that. Because there are other cards, right, that do damage boost. And there we have them, right? But the more consistent one is Tiny Fan, right? Tiny Fan is the card that is more consistent. So Clamshell is good, right? And Sponge and Popeye and Freezer are not that consistent too. You can play them, but they are not that consistent for that particular strat, right? So if I will do that strat, I will run Tiny Fan and Clamshell, right? Both in one axis. So, and I don't know what will be the other combination, right? But because of cards, but because you change this card, it's not possible anymore. So you should consider really removing that vanish clause and changing the draw clause. The strat can be breed, right? We need breed, right? And we need to have wider possibilities of breeding. So please work around that. I really think that's pretty important. So let's go to the next point. Okay, there is another important thing that we should discuss here, and is this. We have stunt. We have disarm, and we have sleep, right? I really think that these mechanics should be fixed, right? And I think the problem is not the car. And when they change it, Chomp or Tiny Turtle, I really feel that they made a bad move, right? What I think that should be fixed around these cards is not what they do, because you can keep one axis last, right? And double talk and win because you keep the other axis left. Or with Kessler, right? You could keep the other axis disarmed, right? It feels like the axis Sky Maybe's team didn't talk of this, but it's really important because what's happening? what is happening? What's really happening is that if you are in 1 versus 1 situation, you are going to win, right? And that doesn't seem so good. So my proposal here is to, okay, you have a slave. You don't want to literally crush your opponent with 1 card. That doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so slave should be reworked, right? What kind of rework? If we want to disable axis, let's keep that, but let's only disable 1 card, right? 1 card is enough, right? It's because if your opponent has, I don't know, courses in their deck, they are going to have less cards, and 1 card is a lot, right? It's going to really be annoying, or you have to spend 1 energy to awake, or you have to spend 1 card to remove the stone, right? That kind of play, right? I have been playing with this, and I think that I play an AXIE to disable my opponent. I really have to say that, and it's not good. I won a lot, so I changed my team because that didn't make sense for me. Right? So what I have to say here is, if we fix that kind of mechanics, not the card, the game design, right? Let's go back to the game design. I think that before doing a change on a card, SkyMap's team should go to the game design of the card and see what happens in different scenarios, right? And my proposal is that only affects 1 card of your AXIE, or do another thing, reward the mechanics, so it's not that punishing to your opponent or to your right if you are playing against it. So let's go to next. Talking about other things to consider, I really consider that secrets are something that should be improved, right? They are working more or less good, but there are things to improve. And one thing for me is that the secret to actually be a secret should not show a single thing, should not show the little question mark above the axis, should not show the armor, should not show anything, right? So it's really a surprise for the other player. It's, oh my god, he played that. I didn't know. If only the player that plays the secret should see the animation, and I think that this has been told plenty of times from the community, so I'm not telling something new. So this is another proposal that I have. I hope that SkyMap is happy to account. One of the things that have been happening is that you have to wait too much for things to happen. I have reported several bugs about it, but they have not solved that. So if you play, for example, an energy, and you have a chain of cards waiting for that energy to play, you have to wait until that energy is played for you to use that energy to play a card. I think that while you are waiting on the animation, cards should play immediately. The energy should be given at once, so you can play your next move without having to wait the animation to play something. So this is another point that I hope they take into account. Another important amulet that we have is discount coupon. Discount coupon right now, I think, is the best of the amulets that we have. It's way too powerful, right? But I really hope that they don't remove that, right? I heard that they could be removing that charm. I really hope they don't, because it's such a good charm that gives strategic planning to the game, right? So let's go into it. We have that. minus 1 energy, and card base type minus 40%. That's a lot, right? And it seems like a lot, but there are a lot of cards that benefit from this, right? Cards like that doesn't have any drawbacks, like Innocent Lamb, right? And given that we have that kind of cards like Innocent Lamb, we should think into something that discount coupon is maybe overpowered, but we don't have to remove discount coupon. I think that there is way that discount coupon could be kept on the game without being removed is that it costs more. So it's a more expensive choice for you to remove this to use this coupon instead of other things. I think that a cost of 7 or 8 is a pretty good cost for this charm. 7 or 8. So it's not being abused, but it keeps its strategic planning and deck building and using around that card. So I think it's important to keep this coupon for the game, but I think that it should be nerfed, right? Like we nerf other things, we should nerf this coupon, and I think the Sky Maybes team should not be fixed on, okay, 5 is the most expensive. No, why not having an 8 or 7 charm instead of removing that charm? I think it's way better, right? So I really hope they listen to this video, or any member of the community could give more ears to this video so they can take into account this point of view, right? So I hope they do, and I hope they fix this too. Another important point, and I think many people is going to agree with me in this, is that the animation should play faster. Animations are way too slow now. So if they are like 50% faster, I think it will be a better play experience for everyone, right? So I hope they fix that too. Okay, I will talk now about cards that I feel that are underwhelming, that are not good coming right now. And let's start by Jan. 1 energy for 6 poison is not good. I think that it should be 3 poison. That is my proposal for this card. So we have Hollow. Hollow is a card that they literally destroyed. So playing 1 card, 1 energy, and losing 75 HP to put a trunk of 60 HP it's not longer viable, right? I think that to fix this, Tron should cost what it cost initially, right? It's a pay heal card, but like 100 HP for 60 HP Tron, right? So something like that. So, but 0 cost, right? I think that 1 cost is too much. If it costs 1 energy, don't lose life, right? But I really think what made Trunk amazing is the ability to pay life or something, right? And it goes in the line with the plants, right? You're a plant, you can regen, right? There is the leaf passive. So please fix that. Put pay life 100 is too much, right? You put like a bounty in the AXIE that paid that amount, but you can regen, right? So you can play around that. And not 75. I think the problem with this card is that it was 75 HP, right? It's too much because it's more than 1 energy, right? So it's too expensive. But if you put this card to cost somewhat around to have, sorry, the trunk to have 60 HP, it would be better. It will be better, and it's definitely, I think, what should be looked for. Right? So I think that the trunk should be fixed. Right now is a pretty bad card. It was too good, but now it's too bad, right? So that's my take on that. And I really think that the balanced team of AXIE should do smaller steps on balance. They balance quite hard, and it's too much on a card. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Billions. Oh my god. This card should cost 0, right? Costing 1, we will never use that card because it costs 1. If it costs 0, it will be good, right? It will be the card which you used to know, right? So 0 cost card, maybe put a cleanser. I don't know. It could be good, right? But 1 cost, I know that removing the books on a line, especially poison, is good, but it's not worth having a card only for that. So it's a card that will pretty similar to what it was, right? And it's like a card only to play versus poison, and you should have a lot of poisons on the meta to play an AXIE with that. I think it's not that good. So let's go to Bumpy and my proposal. Right? I think Bumpy is a card that is underwhelming, right? Because the armor doesn't go with the other turn except with the macaron, right? So it's a power that you are not going to use, right? It's too much. And 30 armor is a lot of, for example, if you play 3 cards, it's a lot to pay for only that, right? For 2 energies. And you actually could die, right? So there are 2 use cases of this one. The first use case is to put it in your tank and 30 armor, but the reality is that 30 armor or 40 armor is too few. It's not worth it. And the other thing about this card is that you cannot target it to any ally, so that's a problem because you can't use it. For example, if you have it in your tank and you are versus a team that does a lot of damage to the first AXIE, maybe you want to put it in the second. So it's, and the third is that 10 is a few. So my take on this card is that it's a good design, right? But 10 shield is too few. I think that it should give 15 shield. 15 shield or maybe 13, I don't know, 13 to 15, because you can play around that, but only 10 shield is not worth, right? It's 30 shield versus 45, it's 45 is better, and it's not at an energy, but it's more than a half, right? 30 shield is like a bit less than a half energy. So a bit of improvement on this card would be pretty good, right? I think that the card should not be balanced according to the run. I think that the run is needed to be balanced, right? The mecha one. So I'm going to talk about that run because it needs to be balanced, but I think that the bumpy card needs to be improved because it's a reptile card. Why I going to use always a reptile card on a mecha, right? It should be used also on reptiles, right? So that's that. Cuckoo. Oh my god. I really think Cuckoo is underwhelming. For me, I don't like the design of the card. I really don't like that. But if it was, if it were for me, I think that, okay, let's start. Removing sleep is to, it's a corner case, right? It's not something that is important, right now. Even if you and your AXIE, if you have the last AXIE and it's sleep and it has sleep, you cannot use that card. So what? You are asleep, but you cannot sleep on sleep yourself, right? So I think that that's one thing about that card. The other thing about Coco is that I really think that it should cost 0, right? That's my proposal. It should cost 0, but it should remove more than sleep, right? Because maybe a stun and disarm, right? Like put you into action, right? And not 5 more damage, like only 10 or something, like something relative to the card. So 10, 20, 20 could be a good card if you do that. And I think that they should fix the card to work like that, because right now the best use case is to use in a rage beast, or put the card on a rage beast, so when you use your rage it does a lot of damage. But I really think that it's not worth using that card. So 0 card, Kuko, good design. Let's see. Kotaro, oh my god, this card, not the other one, this one, that mark is not good in this. It's better blade, right? So that mark is not that good, right? And randomly attack any enemy, you need to kill something, you are not going to attack. What? This card is not useful at all. If I were to do something about this card, I think that the Denmark debuff is underwhelming, right, compared to Blade. So when you are making a good design in a game, you don't make things that do the same, but other is better in all cases, right? I think that Blade is better on all cases on Denmark. So why use the Denmark at all? And what is worse? Why do you use Denmark on a random enemy? I think that this card is too bad, right? It should read like target any enemy, or it should read like something else, or don't attack and more damage, right? Denmark is not good, not a good debuff, and I think it should be redesigned. I think that Denmark should be really be redesigned, pretty by design, on my opinion, right? Okay, let's continue with the next one. Okay, I think that this card should be fixed. Only put in 25 damage. That's all. It's a pretty good fix. Right now, it's not that good. If you improve 5 damage, it's going to be good. So that's my take on that. Hermit. Oh, Hermit. I really wanted to talk about Hermit because I really think that Hermit is not such a good card, right? Why I think that? Because the other player can play around that, right? And it's too obvious that now the secret that he's going to know that something is going to happen, right? Hermit has a good use case, right? And it's against bees with rage or topaz strategies. But if I'm a player, I will put also the less damaging card versus that thing. So my take on Hermit is that it has to be reworked. Totally right. Or giving armor a bit of armor and denying damage, right? So for example, 20 armor and deny next attack. So it will be a good card, right? Because it doesn't depend on that. But only negating the attack is not good, right? And the players can play around that. So I think this card has to be improved. I really think that every card should have room on every strategy. And these cards that I'm discussing here, I really think that you are going always to prefer something else, right? Why use Hermit if I have other cards that give me armor and more things? For example, making bleed the enemy, right? Or drawing a card. And there is no benefit, right? And only one attack is just, I don't know, it's not good. So my proposal is 20 armor and it would be better usable. So the last one I want to discuss on this proposal is Neo. Neo is a card that costs 1, right? Looking at the top 4 cards of the enemy, maybe looks like a great thing, but it's not, right? Right now they put Retain. So Retain makes it better, but it's pretty hard to use that card. I won't use that card until I really know that I don't have to do anything with that energy, and I will use Neo, right? So my proposal on this is remove Retain, and Neo should cost 0, right? And banish 0 is good. Or if you are going to put that one, okay, put Scry on Neo, right? So you scry your opponent, not 4, but 2, I don't know. And so you don't allow your opponent to play things, right? So it's a better use case and a better use for the card. Right now, I won't use that card, right? And I think nobody likes that card or is going to use that. But if you put something like, okay, let me look at my opponent at 0, right? So I can do that when the card comes. Or, okay, let me scry my opponent with 1 energy, so I can decide what comes to my opponent, right? So that will be pretty amazing, right? And will be pretty good, right? Not 4, right? Scrying your opponent 4 is too much, right? Maybe 2 cards, but you understand me. I think that even with Retain, you are not going to use the card. So well, more game design on balancing or changing things, right? That's my proposal for Schemavis, and that's my proposal for these cars. Let's continue with the next thing. Another point that I want to propose is that there are cards that really are underwhelming right now, and it's because they don't have any effects. They only do what they do, and these kind of cards should be improved because compared to others, they are not so good. For example, Mary only gives armor. You can target any ally, and that's good, but it's not enough, right? If you say, okay, let's choose between Lump, this one, or Mary, okay, I will choose Lump. I think that 10 armor doesn't compensate that one additional rise, right? Or if you take another armor card, let's take a look. Let's go down. Let's go down and compare with another when I find it. For example, Timber, 70 armor, right? So compared to 80, I can target any ally too. So what's the difference? 10 armor is too underwhelming, right? Compared, I understand that there are going to be better cards, but if I'm going to be a card that gives only armor, I should give more, like 90. I don't know. 20 more armor is good enough to consider running Mary instead of Timber, right? But if I have a team and I'm going to choose which card can give more armor, I will choose Mary always. I think that that's something important we have to take into account. So other cards that do that, for example, football is not considered like that because you are dealing multi-hit, so that's already an additional stat. But there are cards, for example, Leader Club is good because you have ethereal, right? But 20 more, right? So 20 more is okay. It's 60 is the standard number, right? So giving 20 more attack to a card seems pretty fine. So if we go to other cards that do that, we can think on Red Ear, right? Let me go down a bit if we look at something. But to not lose time in this video, let's go directly, right? Red Ear is the same thing. You can target any ally and you do nothing more, right? So cards like this should be improved because right now they're weak compared to the other cards, and if you can choose between Red Ear and other card, you will choose always the other card, right? So I don't see a reason running Mary or Red Ear, right? So it's something that we should take into account because those cards are not good enough to be considered. I hope that this game maybe take that into consideration too. One card that I have been using and I really consider is pretty strong is TOPAZ, right? I really consider that this card should be changed to have only, instead of 10, should have only 8, right? 8 is a lot. But not as much as 10 because, you know, that keeps building, right? So I think that 8 is a good number on TOPAZ. I think it's a balance that you should make in this card. So this is my proposal on this card. So I even have a team, right? This doesn't benefit me, but I think that's something that should be done in the game. So take that into account. Okay, guys, this is another one. Yeah, this Stardew Fighter run is just too strong. It's too strong. It's because you can have like more than 200 shield right now, and you can hit with one card more than 300 in first turn, right? It's just a lot, right? It's how you don't even have to build, right? So you can abuse that, right? Having too much armor to a pretty big hit is going to win you a game, right? So I really think that this rune should be nerfed, like, okay, 50% of shield to 70% of shield. I think that 50% is pretty good with this rune. So my proposal here is, okay, nerf this rune is too strong. You can open with pretty big armor and just crush your opponent with that. I understand that it's a move that is hard to pull off, but should not be as strong as it is, right? It's too strong. So I think you should consider this, and this is my proposal for this rule. So another thing I think they need to improve is this run, chill backup. I think that chill backup is a run that needs to be improved. And I think that keeping all your children is just too much. I think that 75% or to 50% is okay. So this is pretty simple. It's because square teeth exist. So you can target all the shield to your last axis and literally have a pretty big axis with pretty big shield and doing lots and lots of damage. Another thing that has been happening, and this is an exploit, or maybe not an exploit, a bug of the game, and that people is abusing, is that with this rune, you can have like multi-hit scar, right? Like, I don't know, let's take a look. For example, Chewy, to say something, right? And you can use Chewy with Study Fighter. Oh my god. They should have fixed this earlier. They told us in the past notes that they fixed that, but it's not fixed. So, maybe please fix this, please. Can you? Okay, guys. Another book that is really annoying and you have not solved, maybe, so please take a look at this. Is this book? I have reported it, but it has not been solved yet. And the book is the following, right? You have two axes and one of your axes died because of poison, right? If you are in your turn and your axis dies, you cannot use your revenge cards. Oh my god, please fix that. You should use your cards, your revenge cards if your axis dies. It doesn't have any sense. So let's go to the next one. To finish, I will say that Axie Infinity is a really great game, right? I really like it. I'm playing it. I'm right now, let me show you. I'm right now 106. I plan to continue playing. And I really think that it's worth, and it's a game that is a good game. The game has improved from version 2 to version 3. I really think that version 3 is pretty good and superior to the previous one. When I play B2 now, it feels clunky compared to B3, so they did a pretty good job, right? So this is more about what to improve, what to suggest, what I think they did bad, right? Because you cannot say, oh, you did everything good, right? I think that's not good also. And saying that, oh, everything is great and nothing happens is not also good, right? So things should be said always on a respectful manner, right? I'm trying to do that. And I think that I'm enjoying a lot the game, right? And I think that the last thing I will tell Sky maybe is to improve is the speed of development, right? I think the speed of development is slow. I think that bug fixing is slow too, right? And I think that the development process should have more professional gamers testing so they can break the game in a better way, right? Because for me it is lacking to certain things, right, that should have not happened, right? But they are learning, right? And we should support Sky Maybes on what they are doing, right? If we believe in the project, right? I believe in the project. I really like the project. I think it's amazing, right? So we should support Sky Maybes on this and tell them, okay, improve this, right? I can tell, I don't know marketing perspectives. I don't know many things. I know about development, so I can tell them what is my opinion, right, on development, what I think they are doing bad on that regard. So I think that development wise, they should improve, right? They should improve. And I also think that they should improve uh, how they integrate their design process with the development, right? Because Axie Infinity is a pretty good design game, right? And if they make that integration of that design with the how they code, it could be better, right? Could be more successful for them and for everyone, because when you enter Sky Maybes games, you are like entering a society, right? You are part of it. So I'm trying to talk as being a part of Sky Maybes as and a part of the community. So we can improve together, right? So I know that I did some hard comments, some hard suggestions, but someone has to do that, right? I don't want to bring food to Sky Maybes. I think that's not the way to go, right? If you don't believe in the project, you can tell, oh, okay, I don't believe I'm going, right? That's all, right? You don't have to throw bad things, right? I think that they are doing the best they can do, but they need to improve, and they need to improve fast, because there are competition, right? And there is competition, and there is more things to take into account. But as a game, and that's what we are looking here in this video, I think that it's a pretty good game, and a game that is worth playing, right? So right now is pretty cheap to play. So if anyone wants to join in this moment, I think it's a great moment to join the game, right? And if Sky Maybes learns to do things in the best way they can, I'm not saying that I know all right, but I'm giving my grain of sand. And if they do better, I think that the game has a great future, right? I will talk more about what Sky Maybes or should do better or not in a video from my perspective, right? In a later video, but I also will talk about what they have been doing good and what the game has good. I started with this video of what has to be improved, because I feel it's more urgent, but I would have really liked to start with a video that tells what is good about Axie Infinity, right? I will do that video too, and what is good about the game. There are a lot of things I want to talk, right? But I think that I want to raise first the Axie Infinity team, Sky Maybes, to improve the game. So the game is better, more competitive, it's more fun for everyone. So uh, I I think that there are more things that maybe I'm not taking into account. So they can consider other things from other people, right? But I tried my best to take into account everything that I currently know, right? Maybe I'm wrong on some things, maybe I'm correct, I don't know. I hope to be correct. I really took my time to do this video and to do this analysis. So guys, if you like this content, please subscribe. I will be making more content of this kind. And let's see you in the next video. Bye guys.